Cups. And you can watch all those para-triathlon races live in full on Triathlon Live. Qualification for Tokyo is a big factor today, and that will be on the mind of most of the athletes here, as well as there are a few younger athletes looking towards Paris 2024. Craig, could you tell us a little bit about this race and what the conditions might be like for the athletes today?
Yeah, look, as I mentioned, Catherine, it's a nice bright sunny day, a little bit of patchy cloud, quite a strong breeze coming from the west. So we're not too far away, the athletes lining up, but they'll have a pretty tough wind on the back end of the bike course. And today it's an ocean swim in Bass Strait. It's a 1 lap, 700. Right-hand turns into the beach and then onto the 20-kilometre bike course, which is 6 laps along the coast towards Coles Beach. So a little bit of a technical bit out on the far end of the turn, a few corners and a U-turn and then back 6 times, and then a very flat and fast 5-kilometre run, 2 laps out towards the Mersey River.
Yeah, and I can see the athletes lining up there. There are 6 para-triathlon classes competing today, so men's and women's races, and they will feed into the 8 Tokyo medal events. We start the competition with the vision-impaired athletes, and these athletes will be competing with their guides. And then we also have the wheelchair athletes, and they don't start till 4 o'clock. And after the vision-impaired athletes, we'll have our ambulant athletes, our standing-up athletes who compete in classes 2, 3, 4 and 5. We're just waiting to see the signal to introduce you to the first athletes. And if someone can give us the signal when we're ready to go, we will begin the introductions.
We've got 70 athletes in the start list today. Catherine, they were representing 26 countries from all around the world. So 70 athletes representing 26 countries, all looking to qualify for or the majority looking to qualify for the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games.
Yeah, we had a wait list, didn't we, Craig? There are athletes who actually wanted to enter and couldn't get here. So that's very exciting for the development of the sport of para-triathlon. And there's some incredible athletes competing today. I think we have 2 current world champions.
Yeah, keep an eye out for Lauren Parker, the current world champion in the wheelchair classification, and also Jules Repstein from France in the pTWC category as well, the 2 current para world champions.
And we have a number of athletes who've won multiple world championships in 2018 or earlier, and Melissa Stockwell from the USA, who'll be competing in pTWC, is one of those. She's a 3-time world champion. And then we have athletes like Emily Tapp and Peter Borenkay and Yannick Bourseau, who are also multiple world champions.
Do the intro.
And we're getting very close to a start. The VI, the vision-impaired athletes, will be going first. And all the way through, the wheelchair athletes will start at 4 o'clock today. It's a sprint distance race, 750 swim, 20k bike and 5k run. So our fastest athletes will take just about an hour to do that. So we'll have non-stop racing for almost 2 hours here on this beautiful day in Devonport. We have the PTS 5 men will be the first to be introduced. We have 10 of those. We have 12 athletes competing in the PTVI men and also 12 in the PTS 4 men and 10 in the wheelchair men. So some big fields amongst those 70 athletes competing here, and we're looking forward to some really exciting racing. Qualification for Tokyo is done through points. And the athletes have had a 12-month window, or they will have a 12-month window in which to qualify. It began on the 28th of June in 2019, and it will finish on the 28th of June in 2020. The best 3 scores that the athletes achieve during that 12-month period put them onto a ranking list, the Paratriathlon ranking list, and you can find that at triathlon.org online. The top 9 athletes will get a start, or their countries will be invited to enter athletes for the Paratriathlon races. It's then up to the national federations to select the athletes that will fill those places. Today's race, a WPS race, is worth lots of points. It's worth 550 points to the winner today, and the score drops by 7.5% for each subsequent place. How are we looking, Craig? Are we getting ready to intro the field yet?
Yeah, look, we're not too far away. We're just getting the athletes. They're lining up there, Catherine.
This is the second highest scoring race, so very, very important where you finish today. The difference between finishing 4th or 5th or 2nd or 3rd could make the difference of whether you qualify a place for the Paralympic Games. It's that important.
So they're just sorting the athletes into the final line, make sure they're right athletes in the right position.
And we will also be introducing the technical delegates and the other technical officials as well. There wouldn't be a race without such wonderful people using their skills to organise a safe and fast race for the athletes competing here in Devonport, Australia. This is the first Paratriathlon race for 2020. You can watch all of the Paratriathlon races live on the ITU Triathlon Live feed. Although we have 12 medal events here today, there will only be 8 in Tokyo. And we're all good to start with the introduction. So here we go, nerves rise quite significantly. We're about to get underway. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the race technical officials of the 2020 Devonport ITU World Paratriathlon Series. Leading the technical team today are the technical delegate. We welcome Claire Hannon from New Zealand and head referees Ross Capel, New Zealand, and Frank Stapleton, Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the pTS5 men athletes of the 2020 Devonport ITU World Paratriathlon Series. Starting at 3 p.m, wearing number 525 from Russia, Alexander Yalchik. Wearing number 526 from Brazil, Carlos Rafael Viana. Wearing number 527 from France, 4-time world champion, Yannick Bourseau. Wearing number 528 from Austria, Gunther Matzinger. Wearing number 529 from Japan, Keiichi Sato. Wearing number 530 from Hungary, the 2009 and 2010 world champion, Peter Borenke. Wearing 531 from Australia, David Bryant. Wearing 532 from Lithuania, Ernestas Chechonis. Wearing 533 from Hungary, Bensa Moksari. Wearing 534 from Japan, Tetsuki Kaji. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the PTVI 1 athletes, starting at 3:05 p.m. Wearing number 629 from Slovenia, Alan Kobilica and his guide, Jaroslav Kovacic. Wearing number 630 from Australia, Jared Gossens and his guide, Hayden Armstrong. Wearing number 631 from Canada, John Dunkley and his guide, James Cook. Wearing number 633 from the Ukraine, Anatoly Varfolomiev and his guide, Roman Coral. Wearing number 635 from South Africa, David Jones and his guide, Rowan Kennedy. Wearing number 637 from Japan, Satoru Yonioka and his guide, Koche Tsubaki.
Those athletes are making their way down to the swim start. Catherine said 750 metre swim. It's quite a lumpy swim there today with this wind. They do get a little bit of shelter from the Mersey Bluff, but once, as I said, once they get out to those turning buoys, it will be a little bit more lumpy out there, and we would really test these athletes.
All right, keep on going with presentation.
Okay, we have a race start.
Wearing 607 from Italy, the first of the women's pTWC Class 1 athletes, Anna Barbaro and her guide, Charlotte Bonin. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the pTWC Class 2, 2 and 3 athletes. Wearing number 626 from Australia, Jonathan Gerlach and his guide, Sam Douglas. Wearing 627 from France, Arnaud Grandjean and his guide, Tumi Degum.
Go a bit quicker.
Wearing 628 from Serbia, Lazar Filipovic and his guide, Strahinja Trakic. Wearing 632 from Poland, Lukasz Witecki and his guide, Tomasz Domagala. Wearing 634 from Hong Kong, China, Kimwa Chu and his guide, Lao Tsun Ling. Wearing 636 from Italy, Federico Sicura and his guide, Ivan Risti. Wearing 608 from the United States, Amy Dixon and her guide, Kirsten Sass. Wearing 609 from Japan, Atsuko Maruo and her guide, Hideko Kikuchi. And wearing 610 from Ukraine, Vita Oleksiuk and her guide, Alexandra Rishna. So we have some athletes already racing. We should see a swim around 10 minutes in time, Craig. We'd be looking for those first athletes, the PTS5 men. They are the most able of the athletes racing. As with all Paralympic classifications, the smaller the number, the greater the degree of impairment. So the PTS5s are the most able athletes, and we should see them back on shore in 10 minutes.
We'll certainly see some world-class times, Catherine. There's some incredibly gifted athletes in this category. Very fast, very capable, and looks like they've got a little bit of a push with the wind around the back of the course, heading down to the far turning buoy, and then when they do a right-hand turn there, they'll be heading back into shore to start the 20-kilometre bike leg. So the second wave's about to start.
These waves, they're different classes, and you'll also notice that the vision-impaired athletes are split into two groups. We have the pTWC B1 athletes with the lower number 1. That means they have 0 sight. And then we also have the B2 and the B3 athletes who have impaired sight. So the B1 athletes will start ahead of the B2-3 athletes. There's a factor system used, which is mathematically calculated based on all the data that's been collected over the years, so that it evens the chances for the B1s and the B2-3s to race successfully against each other. So we will see the B1 athletes start ahead of the B2 and 3 athletes. Out in that field, Craig, we've got some great athletes in PTS5. We'd be looking to Yannick Bourseau, who's won 15 gold medals in paratriathlon, the Frenchman. He's getting to be one of the more veteran competitors now, but he'll still keep them honest. Alexander Yolchik, who was third at the Euros, is another very strong competitor in there. And local interest will be with David Bryant, who began racing last year in paratriathlons. We also have Keiichi Sato, who's a winter Paralympian. And Gunther Matzinger could spring a surprise. He only started racing last year too, and he's won many podiums at World Cups in 2019. What do you think would be going through their minds now, Craig? Those athletes that we can see there waiting in that probably quite cold water. Do you know what the water temperature was?
The water temperature was around 17 degrees, so it's a bit fresh. We're looking to swim very quickly. No, look, I think right now they're just concentrating on waiting for the starter's gun, waiting to get that first 10 to 20 strokes and get a good position to set themselves up for the first turning can. We're just looking at the swimmers out the back. They are rocketing around the back now with the push of the wind and the current. They're actually going quite quickly. And we shouldn't be too far away from a start for our vision-impaired athletes.
And there they go, well timed.
Perfect timing.
Are they swimming with or against the current at present when they head out?
So right now they're getting a little bit of shelter from the bluff, which you can see there on the left-hand side of the screen. But as soon as they get up to that, just before they get to that first turning buoy, they're going to get hit by the big northwesterly that's blowing at the moment. And that will help them a little bit because that will push them around the other buoys to the back of the course. But then they're going to have to work a little bit harder on that last turning buoy to work back in towards that current.
And you might have noticed the athletes were standing in the water. In paratriathlon, we do what's called a deep water start. Some of the athletes we'll see coming up very shortly in the other classes do not have legs to stand on, or they might have spinal cord injuries or other paralysis, which means they can't stand. So to ensure consistent opportunity for all athletes, the athletes all start in the deep water. So far we have the PTS5 men were the first to go, and we should see them coming in fairly shortly. The B1, that's the vision-impaired athletes, they just started. There's one B1 female athlete, Anna Barbaro, from Italy, and she won 2 World Cups last year, so she should be one to watch in this race. She won in Alagna and Banyoles. pTWC for both men and women are classes in Tokyo, as is the PTS5 men. And we can see there in the vision quite a bit of a swell happening there. The board going up and down.
Yeah, they've just got around the last turning buoy and they're just trying to make their way back towards the swim exit. They do have to swim across the current and the wind now, so this is going to be the real toughest part of the swim right here, trying to get a good position to get onto their bike.
And what would their coaches have instructed them to really focus in now? Because they'd be feeling a bit of fatigue.
Yeah, certainly. They would have, part of their pre-race warm-up, they would have gone out, had a swim in the warm-up and stopped and got some visuals. So they had some visual cues of maybe the surf club or something behind that they can set their sights on for the swim back.
Yeah, because they're well out into the water, so making sure you swim in as straight a line as possible, very important. And something else to keep in mind while you're watching this great vision of the PTS5 athletes is many of those athletes are missing a hand or part of their arm. So they're actually only catching the water with one hand. And we look forward to seeing who will hit the water first. Hit the pre-transition area. In paratriathlon we have a pre-transition area, which is a place where athletes who want to use crutches or use artificial limbs will put on their prosthetics. Other athletes, like the vision-impaired, will run straight through the pre-transition and into transition. And once they get into transition, we can really start to get our eyeballs on them and find out who's who and where we're going. 3 very different legs, and not uncommon in this fairly new sport. 2016 was the debut of paratriathlon at the Paralympic Games, There are a number of athletes who come from incredibly strong swimming or cycling backgrounds. They've been Paralympic medalists in those events.
So we've also got a race start there for the PT3 category. So they're away in swimming as well.
And we'll be shortly ready to introduce our next wave of athletes who will be nervously lined up, waiting to get into the water. Any sight of our first group hitting land there, Craig?
No, they're not too far away from heading out of the swim and into transition. They've certainly got the work ahead of them on this final swim leg, and our first swimmer is now up and running. He's got a short dash over the sand.
Up the ramp.
Up the ramp and
into transition.
So it's the Hungarian athlete that's first out.
We've got two there. It's probably Bent Mokhtarli, 5.33, is it?
He's got the wetsuit off, putting his helmet on. Very slick transition. It's very important that you can't touch your bike until your helmet is on your head and clipped up. One of the rules of triathlon. And he's away.
And that looks like an Australian green and gold, so that'll be David Bryant. We caught a glimpse of there. Here he comes. Can't mount before the start line.
Yeah, Bent Mokhtarli is now out onto the bike. He has a very handy lead, Catherine.
Long way to go on the bike, 20k.
And second out is the Australian David Bryant. He's heading out onto the bike.
And Alexander Yolchik from Russia. So we're starting to set up a really great race here. Both those athletes, very strong bikers. The swim not their favourite.
Yeah, so Hungary 1, Australia 2, Hungary 3, and Brazilian athlete
Rafael Viana.
Yes, Viana from Brazil, so he's number 4 out onto the bike in the PTS5 men.
Having some trouble there getting onto the bike out on the course and in transition. We can see the athletes with their different impairments.
Austrian athlete.
These are the PTS5 athletes with the minimal impairment, missing a part of their arm or with a slightly paralysed arm, or maybe some impairment in their feet.
Catherine, you can go ahead with the introduction.
And we're ready to introduce the next competitors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the PTS2, PTS3 and PTS4 male athletes. Wearing 222 from France, gold medalist of the 2019 ITU World Championships in Lausanne. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the PTS2, PTS3 and PTS4 male athletes. Wearing 222 from France, gold medalist of the 2019 ITU World Championships in Lausanne, Jules Ribstein. Wearing 223 from Russia, Vasily Egorov. Wearing 225 from Russia, Mikhail Astashov. Wearing 226 from Australia, Glenn Jarvis. Wearing 323 from Russia, Viktor Chebotarev. Wearing 424 from Japan, Hideki Uda. Wearing 425 from Russia, Mikhail Kolnikov. Wearing 426 from Austria, Oliver Dreyer. Wearing 427 from Australia, Clint Picken. Wearing 428 from Luxembourg, Joe Kurt. Wearing 429 from Croatia, Antonio Franco. Wearing 430 from Australia, Liam Toomey. Wearing 431 from Denmark, Sebastian Engwald Jensen. Wearing 432 from Great Britain, Michael Taylor. Wearing 433 from Russia, Denis Kungertsev. Wearing 434 from Finland, Jussi Lotvonen. And wearing 435 from the United States, Eric McIlvenny.
All right, Catherine, so not too far away from seeing our vision-impaired athletes coming out of the water, but our PTS5 men are all out onto the bike, and I'll just quickly recap through those. The Hungarian athlete, Ben Mosconi, was first out, and David Bryant from Australia was second onto the bike, followed by Carlos Villara, then Alexander Ichek. So we'll keep an eye on those vision-impaired swimmers who are out in the water right now as our next category are moving in to start their race. So with these conditions, the wind's really got up, so these athletes are doing 6 laps on the bike, heading out to Coles Beach to the turnaround, so they'll have a really nasty little headwind on the way out to the far turnaround. But once they get to that point, it'll be very, very quick coming back with the wind behind them. So hard work heading out, but very quick on the return. So we're looking for our vision-impaired athletes who are almost at the end of the swim leg. If you notice that they're swimming with a guide, and the guide's not allowed to pull them along, they must just guide them, but they can't lead them or pull them along during the swim. And our leaders are just standing up now, very close, just about to exit the swim and head into T1. You'll notice with these athletes that they'll be riding a tandem bike, Catherine, so the pilot or the guide will be riding on the front, and the vision-impaired athlete will be riding on the back. And these tandem bikes with 2 riders on are absolutely rocket around this course. So let's see if we can get a sighting of our lead athletes as they come up to do their transition. I think it's the French athlete and the Ukrainian athlete. Yeah, so Alain Kablika and Anatoly Vanlev from Ukraine. The first 2 out in the transition, and then we've got our Japanese athlete who are third at transition, and South African athlete set in 4th. And then we've got the Canadian athletes there as well. So first out on the bike is our Slovenian athletes, followed by Ukraine. So Slovenia first, Ukraine second.
Alen Kobylica from Slovenia and Anatoly Varfolomiev from the Ukraine.
Followed by the Japanese straight. So Atsuka Murura from Japan. Yeah, Satoru Yanioka from Japan, and David Jones, John Dunkelviv, and Gerard Gossens from Australia.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the PTS3, PTS4 and PTS5 female athletes. Wearing 303 from Russia, Anna Plotnikova. Wearing 404 from Australia, Sally Pilbeam. Wearing 405 from Japan, Mami Tani. Wearing 406 from Germany, Elka Van Engelen. Wearing 505 from Ukraine, Alyssa Kolpakshki. Wearing 506 from Hungary, Petra Lavoy. Wearing 507 from Australia, Kate Doughty. Wearing 508 from Australia, Molly Wallace. Wearing 509 from Russia, Anna Bichkova. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the PTS2 female athletes. Wearing 202 from Japan, Yukako Hata. Wearing 203 from Spain, Raquel Mateo Uriarte. Wearing 204 from the United States, three-time world champion from 2010 to 2012, Melissa Stockwell.
All right, our vision impaired athletes are out on the bike, just watching the Australian athlete. They're having a bit of trouble with their wetsuit and their transition. So Jonathan Gerlach from Australia, along with his guys, Sam Douglas, so just putting their helmets on, about to head out. So it wasn't as smooth a transition there. And then we've got the Italian athletes heading out as well. Closely followed by the Polish athletes. And then Hong Kong right behind them.
So big fields in these vision impaired men and the PTS5 men. We've got 12 vision impaired men and 10 PTS5 men. The PTS5 men are out on the bike course. The PTVI men, we're seeing the last of those athletes come through transition now and head out for 6 laps on the bike. We should see soon the next lot of athletes to come through, which will be our vision impaired females, and not very far behind them will be the PTS 2, 3 and 4 men. Very difficult to follow who's leading in paratriathlon races like this. It's usually good to pick a particular class or a particular number of athletes and keep an eye on them, and then you can see who is leading. So we have our vision impaired women in the swim. There are 4 vision impaired women out there. That's Amy Dixon, Natsuko Maruo and Vita Oleksiuk with Anna Barbaro. Anna, as the B1 athlete, was the first to start, and she's won 2 World Cups last year in Alagna and Bagnoles, so we'd be looking to see her, and that could be, I would pick Anna Barbaro from Italy coming out now, leading the PTVI women. And we'll see the first of the VI women, the vision impaired women, coming into transition now. Haven't quite pulled their wetsuits down enough, but that is the Ukrainians behind them.
And I think that wind's picked up a little bit more as well as we speak, Catherine. So those athletes out on the bike, and we can see the leader coming in for the first lap of the bike. So David Bryan and the Hungarian athletes have gone through on their first lap as our female athletes are coming in.
And in transition, we have the American Amy Dixon is there. Also, Atsuko Maruo from Japan was first in and getting her bike now. Also, Vita Oleksiuk from Ukraine. So they are the leading 3 vision-impaired women. You can see the coordination between the athletes. A lot of talking goes on between these athletes. to make sure they're running in time in the right place. The athlete in front, the guide, of course, and behind the vision-impaired competitor. But these are large bikes, and the coordination, particularly of the mount and the dismount, you don't want to mistime that, and the athletes do a lot of practice for that, and we can see superb mounts there from our three competitors, Amy Dixon, Atsuko Maruo and Vita Oleksiuk in the vision-impaired women. Coming through soon, we'd see the PTS4 and Craig out on the bike.
Yeah, it's all happening here, Catherine. There's plenty going on. Plenty of athletes coming in to complete their first lap, while some of those vision-impaired women are starting their first lap of the bike. As we mentioned, it's pretty tough heading out to the far turnaround with that headwind, but by gee, they're flying back with the tailwind, so trying to use that tailwind as best they can. And we're not too far away from our other competitors as well in the swim. As the South African athletes in the vision-impaired category have just completed their first lap of the bike.
All right, so we'll keep an eye out on that bike. A very exciting men's race unfolding in the PTS5. We saw the Australian well up there, David Bryant, with Peter Borinkay, Alexander Yolchik, the Russian. We also had in there Yannick Bourseau and Gunter Maxinger. A lot can change in 6 laps on the bike. We're right beside the sea here, Craig, aren't we? So what would the wind be like, and what would be some of the tips to think about out on that bike course?
Yeah, look, it's quite windy now. There's a really strong nor'westerly, so they'll be buffeted on the way out with a really tough headwind, as we mentioned, probably blowing around 25-30 kilometres an hour, and so that's going to be hard work into that wind. But the best bit is you get to use it on the way back.
And we can see the first of the PTS4 athletes. We're coming out of the swim there. They're athletes often missing part of a lower limb. They are using the pre-transition area there where they will put on their prosthesis. They can take their wetsuit off at any time in the process between the pre-transition and the transition area. And we'll get the wetsuit off and then we can identify the athlete. We'd be looking here in this PTS4 class. It could be Hideki Uda, who was 4th at the World Championships, or Oliver Dreyer, who's had multiple podiums. If we can pick a country up there, or a number. And actually we think it could be the British competitor, Michael Taylor, who is first out in the swim. From where we're commentating, we can't see into the transition too well, but I think the big cheer there. And that's Oliver Dreyer, the Austrian, and in there, Liam Toomey, the Australian. We also have McInerney from the USA. So the PTS4 men, a very tight race happening there.
Yeah, and Michael Taylor from Great Britain, all the way from the mother country. Great Britain's heading out on the 20-kilometre bike course.
And that is the PTS4 class, which is also a Tokyo class. We have 12 competitors here, so the equal largest class in the PTS4.
Yes, all these athletes are looking to try and qualify for the Tokyo Paralympic Games. And have a look at this. This is a legend of the sport right here.
Jules Ribstein, world champion in PTS2. So in a different class to the athletes we just saw, but leading clearly from McInerney, who's a PTS4, Sebastian Engvold from Denmark, a PTS4, and Liam Toomey, also a PTS4. So Jules Ribstein, truly a world-class competitor there, competing with athletes right beside them, but in a different class. So out on the bike, Craig, what can we spot out there?
Well, I'm just watching Clint Pinkin from Australia come out as well, so he's heading out to start his bike leg.
And back at the swim we can see more of the PTS4 athletes coming out.
And David Bryant has just turned to do his second lap of the bike from Australia.
And in PTS4, Clint Pinkin heads out. David Bryant, a PTS5 competitor. Mikhail Astashov in PTS2. So out on the course we have vision-impaired athletes on the bike, on the tandem bikes. We have the PTS2, PTS3, PTS4 and PTS5 male competitors. And we have the female PTVI competitors, 4 competitors in the VI women. From Luxembourg, Joe Kurt. And from Japan, Uda, Hideki Uda. They're the PTS4 competitors. They're probably back midfield now. We've seen the leading competitors. Oliver Dreyer from Austria, also a PTS4. Commonly in this PTS4 class, we have athletes like Oliver, as you can see, with a full arm amputation, or the Russian Kolmakov, Mikhail Kolmakov, and they are competing in the same class as the below knee amputees. These competitors we can see now are the PTS2 competitors. That's Vasily Egorov and Mikhail Astashov from Russia, athletes who have a brain injury or cerebral palsy, so many different impairments able to compete in the sport of para-triathlon. So if you're a beginner watching somewhere out there in the world, there are many impairments competing in different classes. Lutvinen from Finland and Glenn Jarvis, a PTS2 competitor, often the above knee amputees, competing in the same class with the significant brain injury competitors.
Yes, Catherine, we understand the lead cyclists are onto their third lap of the bike, and we think David Bryant may have hit the front, the Australian athlete, in his category, so that's exciting for Australia.
And in the vision we can see one of the competitors in PTS3. He's getting some assistance from a handler. Athletes with very significant impairments are able to get assistance from a handler, and you can see this athlete has impairments to all 4 limbs. So the handler will be wearing a yellow vest. We'll see more of those in the pTWC, the PT wheelchair class, coming up later today. They're due to start in half an hour's time. But none of the other impairments are permitted to use handlers in transition. And that competitor is away. And that is Mikhail Astashov from Russia. He is a competitor in the PTS2 class. So we might not be too far away from seeing the first PTS5 men come into transition. Craig, what do you think they would have done? What sort of a time would they be doing on the bike?
Oh, you'd expect them in these conditions to be averaging close to 40 k's an hour. Certainly heading out into the wind, probably certainly not that fast, but coming back, sitting on 45 to 46 kilometres an hour with that tailwind, maybe even faster. So usually around half an hour is a good bike time.
So they will be coming in sort of in the next 5 minutes or so as we see some of our female competitors coming through. And that looks like Kate Doughty from the PTS5 class. the first of our female competitors, the Australian, moving strongly into transition. We have 5 women competing in this class. Yes, that is Kate Doughty. Kate was a competitor when paratriathlon made its debut in the Rio Paralympic Games. She finished 5th. She took a short break from international competition to have her first child and is now back preparing for the Tokyo Paralympic Games. A medalist at World Championships, taking it pretty steady there. And here comes Kate Doughty, leading the PTS 5s.
She's made the move to a new coach and really enjoying the juggling of being an elite athlete and juggling motherhood. As I was saying, Rio Paralympian Kate Doughty is about to jump on the bike.
She's got a good break. We haven't spotted any footage yet of anyone else coming into transition, so a terrific swim from Doughty. Here we are. This will be the first PTS 4 athlete, I think, coming in. Looking at the impairment. Could be the Japanese Mami Tami. So we have the PTS 4s and the PTS 5 women competing in separate classes. For Tokyo, there is no medal event for the PTS 4 athletes. So the International Triathlon Union has made it possible, with the cooperation of the IPC, for athletes to class up. So while the PTS 4 women will be recognised on the podium in their own class for this event, they will also be scoring points on the Paralympic ranking list towards one of those 10 precious places in the Paralympic Games. So we have PTS 2 women there. The athlete on the crutches, Raquel Mateo Uriarte from Spain. We have PTS 4 and PTS 5 women. Mami Tani from Japan leading PTS 4. She was a Paralympic swimmer before converting to triathlon. So far we've had 1 PTS 5 and 1 PTS 4, and you can see how potentially Mami can class up. The Ukrainian, Alisa Kolpachki, is a PTS 5 competitor. So she's currently in 2nd place in PTS 5.
Yeah, all the way from the Ukraine. She's heading out onto the bike, 20 kilometres. It's going to be tough into this wind.
Melissa Stockwell from the USA, bronze medalist at the Paralympic Games in Rio and a 3-time world champion. She's a PTS 2 competitor, which is also a Paralympic class. Sally Pilbeam in PTS 4, currently in 2nd position in the PTS 4 class. Molly Wallace, who is in PTS 5, currently in 3rd place. So we've got 3 PTS 5 women out there, 2 PTS 4. Melissa Stockwell leading PTS 2. And Yukako Hata coming through strongly in PTS 2. And 2 of our competitors there in PTS 5. So lots of action from the women now. Obviously they started significantly time-wise behind the men to keep separation out on the field. Bit of a technical there, Craig. What's happening, do you think?
Yeah, it looks like they just didn't quite have their bike in the right gear and they've dropped their chain. So they need to get that fixed quickly before she heads out onto the bike. It's just a matter of making sure you stay relaxed.
And there's Melissa Stockwell, one of the legends of the paratriathlon, a former US veteran, Paralympic bronze medalist in 2016 and a 3-time world champion before that. This is a PTS 2 competitor, Raquel Mateo Uriarte from Spain, coming into transition now. Different type of impairment, but equal potential for competition, so classified in with the PTS 2 competitors. Raquel is an experienced competitor also. She has had success in Australia before. She finished third at the Gold Coast WPS in 2017. Australia has a great history of holding international paratriathlon events and held the first World Series race in 2014 in Elwood in Victoria. Raquel Mateo Uriarte heading out now. She's in about 4th or 5th place in PTS2.
Yeah, she puts her leg over the bike, puts her feet into the shoes, and she's about to head out on the 20 kilometres.
What would some of the considerations be for someone, we've seen athletes who've only got one leg out there on the bike course, what could be some of the challenges for them?
Certainly generating enough momentum and force to counteract this wind was certainly going to be a big challenge for them today.
And we can see Elke van Engelen, who was third at the World Championships in PTS4. She is well down now, but obviously a strong cyclist. The German competitor. What sort of bikes are they riding, Craig?
Most of these athletes, because the event for them is non-drafting, they're riding time trial frames, so their seats are a little bit further forward so they can get a little bit further over the bottom bracket of their pedals, generate that little bit more force. So more designed for time trialling these bikes because it's a non-drafting event.
And most of the women now through transition. One of the PTS4 competitors there, I think, or the PTS5s. Just cut off by the barriers now, spotting who that is, Craig. Looks like Anna Bichkova, perhaps, from Russia. She competed from the early days and has been a successful competitor. So yes, one of the important things to note in the difference between ITU Elite and Paratriathlon Elite is the Paratriathlon is non-drafting. And when you see races like this where there's so many competitors of different classes out there on the bike, it wouldn't make much sense to have a draft legal race. Otherwise you'd be jumping in behind those big tandems, if you could, as we see the Ukrainians turn there in the PTVI men. Any moment now we will have our first PTS5 men entering transition after the 20k bike. They will head out on 2 laps for a 5-kilometre run, and shortly we will be introducing the wheelchair athletes. Big field of wheelchair athletes coming up, including a number of world champions.
It will be really interesting to see who our leading athletes are in the PTS5. We're getting reports out on the course that the Australian David Bryant was leading, closely followed by the 2 Hungarian athletes.
The Australians turning there, Jonathan Gerlach and his guide Sam Douglas. Sam, an experienced Ironman competitor, and the vision-impaired athletes obviously looking for high-class guides to help support them in this race. We noticed there was an Olympian competing as one of the guides, Craig, was that right?
Yeah, certainly for the Italy team, Charlotte Bonin was guiding their athlete, and she competed at the Rio Olympic Games as an able-bodied athlete, and now she's acting as a guide, hoping to replicate McKeely Jones and Katie Kelly's performances in Rio.
The rules relating to guides, obviously you can't put the Olympic gold medalist on the front for the Paralympic event. The guides have to sit out 12 months of elite ITU competition before they are eligible to race as guides. But it's not just about how good is the guide must also be able to ride, swim and run in perfect harmony with the vision-impaired athlete. So it's very much a team event, lots of talking going on out there. Very tight competition, high degree of skills on these tight turns with many different classes out there racing. 6 laps on the bike, relatively flat course, quite technical with lots of turns. People who are familiar with Devonport would know there's a big hill for the able-bodied athletes. We're not doing that, are we, Craig? Where do we turn around here?
Yes, the para athletes are actually turning at the bottom of the hill, but they do have a little bit of a technical section there, Catherine. They have to negotiate the train line and do a right-hand turn and then a left-hand turn, and then they're immediately into a U-turn. And they have to come back and negotiate those 3 tight corners and then back onto the straight to return to transition.
The wheelchair athletes getting ready now. And there's always plenty of action in para-triathlon races as we introduce these athletes. If you're here live, you will probably see the PTS5 men coming into transition as we're introducing the pTWC competitors.
And as we speak about the Italian athletes, Barbaro from Italy and her guide, Charlotte Bonin, heading out to their bike. And we also spotted Sally Pilbeam finishing her first lap of the bike as well.
2 minutes till intro for the pTWC athletes. We'll keep our focus here on the bike. They'll come off the bike course, do a quite tight 45-degree or so turn into transition. They have to, same as able-bodied triathlon, they have to dismount before the line. And Craig is out there watching closely to spot the first of those PTS5 men. We'll be looking for the Russian Alexander Yolchik, the Frenchman Yannick Bourseau, Gunther Matzinger from Austria, and the Australian David Bryant.
And as we look, Catherine, here's our lead athletes, the Australian David Bryant in the PTS5 men. David Bryant is leading them off the bike. And it looks like he has a handy little lead. Magnificent bike leg for him. And then it's the Frenchman in second place.
Yannick Bourseau.
So Bourseau from France in second. Great bike ride from him as well. So David Bryant in first. Bourseau from France in second. We're looking for our third athlete off the bike.
And Yannick Bourseau, an experienced winter Paralympian, a cross-country skier. So there's plenty of stamina and strength there. So we're looking to a great run. And Alexander Yolchik from Russia turns into transition. So they're the top 3 in PTS5.
And the Japanese athlete, Kaji from Japan, is off the bike as well.
And here comes David Bryant out onto the run.
And then the Austrian athlete, Matzinger, he's off the bike. So David Bryant is onto the run.
And Yannick Bourseau chasing. You can see the quite different impairments that compete together in this PTS5 class. David having an impairment in his lower limb.
And Yalchik from Russia, Catherine, is off the bike as well.
So the first 2 competitors, PTS5, are out there.
And then the Hungarian athlete, Mascari from Hungary, closely followed by Sato from Japan.
There are 10 competitors in PTS5 men, all racing closely, as we see the Brazilian Carlos Rafael Viana come in.
So Japan third.
Keiichi Sato from Japan in third in PTS5. And the Austrian Gunther Matzinger just moves into third there, obviously a strong runner.
And a very quick transition there from the Russian athlete. So he's heading out in 5th position. Alexander Ilichik from Russia. And now Sato from Japan in 6th. And the Hungarian athlete in 7th place.
Venksa Moksari. When you think about there's only 10 positions available for competitors at the Paralympic Games, it heightens the understanding as Carlos Rafael Viana from Brazil heads out onto the run. Only the top 10 competitors in the world will get to compete in Tokyo. And this race, the first of 4 WPS races for the qualifying period in 2020, critically important. Every place makes a difference. The points drop by 7.5%. And we're ready for introductions. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the pTWC1 athletes of the 2020 Devonport ITU World Para-Triathlon Series. The race will be starting at 4 p.m. Wearing 121 from France, Alexandre Pavitsa, H1. Wearing 122 from Japan, Junpei Kimura, H1. Wearing number 123 from Australia, Nick Beveridge, H1. Wearing number 127 from Russia, Semen Radiev, H1. Wearing number 128 from Ireland, Mark Miller, H1. Wearing number 101 from Australia, the gold medalist of the 2019 ITU World Championships, Lauren Parker, H1. Wearing 102 from Australia, Emily Tapp, H1. Wearing 103 from Spain, Eva Maria Moral Pedrero, H1. Wearing 104 from the Netherlands, Margaret Ijima, also an H1 competitor. Wearing 105 from Brazil, Jessica Ferreira, H1. And wearing 108 from Italy, Rita Kukuru, the last of the H1 competitors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the pTWC2 athletes. Wearing 124 from Austria, Florian Brungraber. Wearing 125 from Italy, Pier Alberto Bucoliero. Wearing 106 from France, Mona Francis. Wearing 107 from Germany, Christian Reppe. And how are we going out in the racing, Craig?
Well, our PTS5 men are out onto the run. They're down at the far end of the run course, Catherine. They've had a nice tailwind down there. It's going to be hard work for them on the way back into that headwind. They've got to run this leg very strategically. So they've got to work with the tailwind down and work really hard into the headwind back. It's a 2-lap run for 5 kilometres, and we shouldn't be too far away from seeing our visually impaired athletes coming off as well. And that was a very, very quick dismount from the the Lithuanian athlete there. From Lithuania.
Ernestas Chechonis in the PTS5. He's well back in that race.
And here's our leading visually impaired, and it's the Canadian athletes.
John Dunkley, that is.
What a great bike ride from those guys. So Canada is first off in the visually impaired men, closely followed by the Slovenian team.
Alan Kobilica.
So Canada 1, Slovenia 2.
There are top 2 PTVI competitors. John Dunkley all the way from Canada. And again, you see the precision of the 2 athletes working closely together to steer that large tandem bike into transition.
And our Ukrainian athletes are third into the bike.
That's Anatoly Varfolomiev, a B1 athlete. And if you look closely at these vision impaired athletes, the B1 competitors have no sight at all. And John Dunkley is a B1 athlete, as is the Slovenian.
And here comes the Australians, Jonathan Gorlak. They're off the bike as well, so they're in 4th position off the bike. And the Canadians are first out onto the run course. So really quick transition from them, Catherine.
And Arnaud Grandjean from France is into transition now too. These most recent 2 athletes, Jonathan and Arnaud, they are B2-3 athletes. You'll see they have a tiny bit of vision. against these leading competitors who are B1 athletes heading out onto the course, and the guide making sure they're safe around the bends.
Righto, so we've got the Canadians out on the run, followed by the Slovenians, and then the Ukrainians. They're going to be third onto the run course. We'll watch the Australians transition here to see how quick theirs is.
Lazar Filipovic into transition, as is Jared Gossens from Australia, and from Hong Kong, the Japanese, Yonioka. So most of the pTWC men here.
So Grosjean's from France now. He had a little bit of a fall in transition, Catherine, so that would have slowed them down. Now it's the Australian team here.
And there was a bit of a problem there with the Australians with one of their shoes. Grosjean is away now.
So it's Canada 1, Slovenia 2, Ukraine 3, Australia 4, France 5.
And Lazar Filipovic is in transition, as is Jared Gossens and the Japanese competitor Yonioka.
So
Jared. Lazar Filipovic heads out on the run.
okay, Gerard Gossens putting on his running shoes. His guide today, ladies and gentlemen, is Tasmanian Hayden Armstrong. So get behind Australia. Hayden Armstrong from Hobart is his guide.
And we see from Japan, a fairly new competitor to the scene, Satoru Yonioka, and Jared Gossens with his Tasmanian guide. Plenty of support for the Tasmanian as the South African David Jones comes into transition now. So out on the run, and I imagine we'll see, I think we can see the leading runner coming through in
can.
pTWC5.
What a great battle this is. David Bryant from Australia is about to finish his first lap of the run. He's being hunted down by the French athlete, but he's got a nice little lead here. He's got 2.5k to run. He's got a tailwind now, and he's trying to use that.
So David Bryant turns first, Yannick Bourseau behind him.
And then it's the Austrian athlete who is having an absolute flyer.
Yeah, Gunther Matzinger. He only started in 2019.
So he probably looks the fastest at the time, but can he catch David Bryant, who's moving really well with that tailwind?
Is there anyone turned yet in fourth in that race, or have we got pretty much a race in three for the podiums at pTWC5?
So
race in three.
It's a race in three for the podium, so they're fighting out the medals at this stage.
And we can see in the green it's David Bryant, the Frenchman, with the white top half, and then the red and white for Gunther Matzinger. They're the leading three pTWC5 category athletes, and they are on their final lap in the run as the vision-impaired competitors are heading out on the first lap of the run. So there's the next two pTWC5 athletes. Turning now, I can see Viana from Brazil, and just ahead of him, Alexander Yolchik it is in fourth place from Russia in pTWC5. And Carlos Rafael Viana in fifth place in the pTWC5.
Yeah, and then it's the Brazilian Viana about to turn around, so he's got one lap to go. So again, I'll use that tailwind, and I've got to work really hard into the headwind back. And here's our leading female in the vision-impaired, Catherine.
Yes, and that's the Italian competitor, a B1 competitor, Anna Barbaro, with her guide Charlotte Bonin. She's had 2 World Cup wins in 2019 at Alagna and Banyoles, and she is leading this field of V1 athletes. And we can see further competitors in pTWC5, midfield turning there. So we have out on the run now on their second lap are the pTWC5 men. Out on the run on their first lap are the pTWI, the vision-impaired men. And we have the first vision-impaired female in transition, our Italian competitor, Anna Barbaro.
Yeah, so just racking their bike now. can't unclip your helmet until you've racked the bike. Putting on their running shoes.
And you can see the competitor, the guide rope there. Different mechanisms allowed. Sometimes they will hold something hand to hand, but in this case these competitors have chosen to put the band between them at their waist, and the guide helps Anna get round the course. We have what's called the VI leading zones, free leading zones. In the main part of the run, you can imagine the guide is obviously not allowed to pull the vision impaired competitor along, but when you get to tricky technical bits like that turnaround, the guide is able to very briefly assist the athlete for safety reasons. So Anna Barbaro, the Italian, has a great lead there in the pTWC women. And we see more of the PTS5 men coming in on their first lap. We won't be too far away from our first finish of the Devonport World Para-Triathlon Series, kicking off the ITU Series for 2020 in great style with a brilliant day here in Devonport. Full field of 70 competitors, 26 countries competing. We had large wait lists that were turned away, so para-triathlon very competitive. And we have the 12 medal events today, 6 classes competing, and all athletes are working hard towards earning qualifying points to qualify for the Tokyo Paralympic Games later this year, where we will have 8 medal events. And the PTS5 men are one of the classes that will be competing in Tokyo, as will the vision-impaired men and the vision-impaired women. So the finishing order, which we're not too far away from seeing.
And we've got a race start in our wheelchair category, Catherine. So they're into the swim, our wheelchair athletes. So they're starting their race, and we're not too far away from looking from the winner in the PTS5 men.
And you would have heard me during the introduction talking about the H1 and the H2 athletes. Although we only have one medal event for the wheelchair competitors, there is a wide variety of impairment and level of impairment in this class. And just like we saw with the vision-impaired athletes, where the B1 athletes started ahead of the B2-3 athletes, the H1 athletes, and we can see the H2 athletes starting there, there is a time factor to bring some parity and opportunity, as we see our second and third competitors in the pTWC women's race coming in. Amy Dixon, the American, and Vita Oleksiuk from the Ukraine. When we see the wheelchair athletes finishing the swim, we will see the handlers will be assisting them from the water. And our competitors from Hong Kong in the pTWC men's class coming into transition now. Kinhua Chu. Second place Americans in the women's race, Amy Dixon, experienced competitor, and Vita Oleksiuk. They will be looking to chase down Anna Barbaro, who is well out on the run now. Don't want to rush transition. We want to make sure that they head out. And Amy Dixon heads out on the run, closely followed by Vita Oleksiuk from the Ukraine.
And our lead runners in the vision-impaired men are about to finish their first lap of the run as well, Catherine. So as the vision-impaired women are heading out, the vision-impaired leaders there, and it looks like it could be Jonathan Gerlach.
It looks like Jonathan Gerlach, yes, the Australian, with his guide Sam Douglas. Very strong runner. He was in about 4th or 5th place, I think, when they came into transition.
So come on, get around, get behind him, Australia. It's leading this, 1 lap to go, 2.5 kilometres, and we shouldn't be too far away. And I'll tell you what, the pack's not far behind, Catherine.
It's only 2.5k each lap, so you can do plenty of damage. And that looks like in second place the Ukrainians, which would be Anatoly Varfolomiev. We have Lazar Filipovich in there as well.
And then the French Grand Jean.
So a very tight race there amongst the top four. I can see John Dunkley from Canada.
Yeah, they were the leaders off the bike. Starting to struggle a little bit on the run. They've been first out, but they're now running in 6th place. The Canadians in 6th place at the moment.
So we have the Australian Gerlach leading, Lazar Filipovic.
And if we look down the finishing straight,
That's Gunther Matzinger.
So it's the Austrian.
Yes, Gunther Matzinger.
So Gunther Matzinger from Austria, 2020 Devonport World Para Triathlon Series champion. He takes it out. What a fantastic run, Catherine.
David Bryant moving into second.
David Bryant takes the silver medal. So Austria 1, Australia 2.
In the PTS 5 men.
These guys are all looking to qualify for the Tokyo Paralympic Games.
And it's a great reflection on the sport of paratriathlon. It's a new sport, and both those athletes only started competing in paratriathlon last year. Obviously very experienced athletes. David, I know, was competing in able-bodied triathlon.
So Gunther Matzinger takes the gold. David Bryant in silver in the second place. And Yannick Borso from France is coming up the finishing straight. So he'll take the bronze medal. So Austria 1, Australia 2, and France 3rd.
And we have our PTS 4 men into transition now. They've come in off the bike. The PTS 4 men also a class competing in Tokyo. And leading them out, he led them in the swim, was Michael Taylor. He's still got the lead from the Danish competitor Jensen. First and second in PTS 4. Sebastian Engwald Jensen from Denmark and Michael Taylor from Great Britain.
So that's a very tight race there with 5 kilometres to go. Looking for our 4th place finisher in the PTS 5 men.
It's Alexander Yolchik from Russia. And Carlos Rafael Viana from Brazil. And here goes Clint Pitton in PTS 4, so he's in 3rd place, the Australian competitor. As Oliver Dreyer comes in the PTS 4 class from Austria. About half a dozen of the PTS 4 competitors already in. Kolmakov from Russia.
We're getting word from
the Croatian heading out there in the top group 2. Antonio Franco from Croatia and Liam Toomey from Australia.
We're getting words out on the course, Catherine. PTS 2 men is being led by Jules Ripstein. So he's leading that category.
As the Japanese in PTS 4, Hideki Uda heads out. Kolmakov from Russia and Jules Ripstein, PTS 2. Yes, leading PTS 2, we've got the Frenchman there. We just caught a glimpse of the above-knee amputee heading out, leading the PTS 2 men as the PTS 5 men continue to come in across the finish line. We're not too far away, I don't think, from the vision-impaired men. So if you can keep your eye open, Craig, and spot, they'll be finishing shortly.
So
Benksa Moxie from Hungary has completed his tour of duty. And the PTS 4 men are heading out onto the bike course. We have 12 competitors in PTS 4 men, and most of those competitors are now out on the 2-lap run course. So action coming thick and fast. Remember, we have our wheelchair athletes will be coming out of the swim soon and into transition as Joe Kurt from Luxembourg heads out onto the run for PTS 4.
Yeah, certainly in that swim leg for our wheelchair athletes, Catherine. I know it's pretty bumpy out there now with that wind, and I was talking to Lauren Parker yesterday, and she has a surf background, so she was really looking forward to having a lumpy swim. So that will certainly suit her.
Yes, and I'm sure it is a lumpy swim, as you said. We'll bring you the vision as soon as the athletes are coming in. They're still well out on that triangular course, 750 metre swim. And we can see the rolls there.
Yeah, they're just going around the last buoy now. So they're heading back against the wind and the current now to get back into the swim exit. As we look down the finishing straight.
These are PTS 5 competitors finishing off here, the second half of the field. Keiichi Sati from Japan. And vision there of our pTWC male and female competitors in the swim. And we'll be crossing shortly for an interview live with one of our PTS 5 competitors. A great win there to Gunther Matzinger from Austria, from David Bryant of Australia and Yannick Bourseau from France in that race. Vision-impaired men not far away from finishing. PTS 5 men, second half of the field finishing now. The wheelchair competitors are on the swim. We haven't seen too many of our female athletes come in off the bike. There's Vasily Egorov, PTS 2 competitor. He's in second place. And heading across now for Craig Redman and Gunther Matzinger, winner of the PTS 5 men's at the Devonport World Para Triathlon Series.
All right, thanks, Catherine. I'm at the finishing line with Gunther Matzinger from Austria. Amazing run, Gunther. What an amazing performance. Now, I just heard that you still hold the record from Rio Paralympic Games in the 800 metres. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was London. Yeah, I did the 800. I'm still the record holder, but now switched to triathlon for the last 2 years.
Oh, what an amazing effort today. It certainly showed in your run. How are you going with your learning the transition from athletics to triathlon, the swimming and the cycling?
Of course, swimming is hardest, but I've been making good progress over the winter. We did some good training, just came back from Fuerteventura, so improving every week, every month, and this is my first win on the triathlon circuit, so I'm very happy how it turned out.
Yes, so how did you enjoy the course? It was pretty tough out there on the wind, so how did you deal with that during the race?
Yeah, it was pretty tough on the bike, just trying to keep very low, very aero, keep pushing, and then on the back, of course, it was very fast, and then the run was pretty hard as well.
Great effort, mate. First gold medal, Devonport World Para Triathlon Series. Well done. We look forward to seeing you in Tokyo.
I do too. I hope I qualify.
Good luck. Thank you.
And that was Gunther Matzinger as we look to the head of that straight, Redders, and we can see Jonathan Gerlach heading for the finish line in the pTWC men.
Come on, get behind him, Australia. Gold medal. Vision-impaired, Jonathan Gerlach. Our World Para Triathlon Series champion, the Vision-impaired. Fantastic effort.
In second place coming through there, so a nice tight race. Just blocked by the other competitors. Craig, can you... Lazar Filipovic takes second place in the pTWC men. The Serbian in second. So Jonathan Gerlach first, Lazar Filipovic from Serbia second. There's our third place getters also heading to the finish line. And that's the Frenchman, Arnaud Grandjean, coming in for third place in the pTWC men. And we can see in the swim, there's the first of our pTWC, our wheelchair competitors, leaving the water. Great vision there of how the handlers assist the athletes from the water. They will take them to the pre-transition area where their everyday wheelchairs will be in a very tight finish already in the swim. We'll bring you the names of those athletes as we can pick them up. They get put into their own wheelchair, so quite a bit of coordination there, and the yellow vests are the handlers. And they're screaming and yelling instructions. Junpei Kimura from Japan is leading the men in the pTWC. The Japanese competitor first into transition as 4th place in the pTWC comes in. The Japanese competitor.
We're looking for the VI.
Satoru Yonioka. And we can see Nick Beveridge from Australia in the pTWC class in 2nd place. The handlers assisting the athletes to strip the wetsuits. They will get into their hand cycles. The wheelchair competitors using the recumbent hand cycle. And away goes Junpei Kimura from Japan, leading the pTWC, and we can see Kate Doughty from Australia coming into transition, leading the PTS5 women. That's Junpei Kimura out as our vision-impaired male competitors are finishing. We can see John Dunkley there.
All right, Catherine, I'm actually down the finishing line. As we watch Nick Beveridge head out in the wheelchair category, and Kate Doherty also heading out onto the run. If you notice, Nick did a start there. That's part of the hand cycle requirements. Need to stop completely and go on the run. So I'm down here on the finishing line, Catherine, with the vision-impaired winners, Jonathan Gorlak and his guide, Sam Douglas. Great effort today, boys. Really tough conditions with the choppy swim and the wind on the bike and the run. So how did you feel out there, Jonathan?
Well, I'm stuffed now. No, it was challenging conditions. The surf was really, could barely get a good stroke in, but I think we managed to come out pretty close to the guys we needed to and had a ripping bike. We just mowed everyone down really quickly and solid throughout, and then just set ourselves up for the run, which was very challenging. The French boys are very fast and they kept us honest the whole way, so hence why I'm stuffed.
No, look, it was really impressive. You had good form on the run. Sam, how did you feel leading onto the bike there and working really hard?
Yeah, we had a pretty slow T1 and I knew I had to make up a bit of ground, so the first 4 laps I was just on the rivet redlining, and I was a little bit worried for the run there that I wasn't going to have the legs, but last two laps I kind of eased up a little bit and got the legs back.
That's an awesome effort. Gold medal in the World Para Triathlon is nothing to be sneezed at, so everything's pointing towards Tokyo.
Yeah, now I think we've pretty well cemented a spot. I think we just needed to get on the podium today to cement that spot, because we've had a few good results already in the last 6 months, so I think that pretty much guarantees it now, or gets a slot. Yeah, I think we can focus on Tokyo and just prepare for that one race.
Well, that's super exciting. So good luck, boys. Hope to see you racing later in the year, and good luck in Tokyo.
And we will shortly see our first pTWC wheelchair competitor, Lauren Parker, is heading out of transition now. Current world champion, heading out to lead the women. We've got only 3 of the men out on the course, so that gives you an idea of the quality of the women competitors. We had Junpei Kimura, Nick Beveridge and Alexander in the men's wheelchair, and Lauren Parker out on the course in the pTWC women. We can see there's Emily Tapp from Australia. She will be second, it looks like, in for the women, and close behind her the Spanish competitor. So Mona Francis and Emily Tapp are in there. The handlers running beside them. Here comes our next wheelchair athlete. Obviously they can't mount the bike at the mount line, so the wheelchair athletes must completely stop before heading out on the court. There goes Christian Reppe, the German competitor. Paralympic champion in cycling, so we should see a ripping cycling leg from her. Second place in PTS5, also heading out, Elisa Kolpachki is the ambulant competitor, heading out on the run as the wheelchair competitors come through onto the bike leg.
And our South African competitors are now finishing in the PT, now vision impaired. David Jones.
And Craig, we want to keep an eye out for the PTS4 men. They won't be far away from finishing. As will Jules Rebstein, was leading very strongly in the PTS2. So perhaps if we turn our eyes to the run as the wheelchair athletes head out on the bike course. The Spanish Eva and dual world champion Emily Tapp on the hand cycle. And here comes some runners. That's a PTS4 competitor. Michael Taylor has been leading this race. And if we can get a bit of vision on that athlete. Can you? We're having a bit of trouble reading the names. Here comes Rita Kukuru from Italy, pTWC women. Petra Levoy from PTS5 women. Lotvinen in PTS4 men there, and they won't be far away from a finish. Mami Tani in PTS4, she's leading the PTS4 class, the Japanese competitor, and we see the handlers waiting there for the athletes. They are now getting the race chairs in position while the wheelchair athletes are on the bike course, 20k on the bike, and then they will come in and do the run. The German in PTS4 there, that's Elke van Engelen. So we have Mami Tani and Elke van Engelen. Looks like the German has passed Mami Tani and heads out on the run in first place. We've also seen the PTS5 women were led out on the run by Kate Doughty. We have our PTS4 men on the run, and they won't be far away from finishing. Petra Levoy on the run. So wheelchair competitors mostly now out on the bike course, and all the other competitors are on the run course. The two turnaround points here, if you happen to be in Devonport, they're side by side, so it's a great way, isn't it, Craig, to watch the two races?
Yes, all the bike riding is out on the western end of the course, and all the running is out on the eastern end of the course, so makes a great event to watch.
So Mami Tani in second place at the moment in PTS4, heads out for her run. She's behind the German Elke van Engelen. Van Engelen was third at the World Championships. And Mami had 3 World Cup podiums last year, so a very high quality competitor. The PTS4 women, unfortunately, don't have an individual medal event at the Paralympic Games. There's a very tight limit to the number of medal events at a Paralympic Games. So these PTS4 women are looking to score points on the Paralympic qualification process to make the field for PTS5. We call that classing up. And here come our PTS3 and 4 and 2 competitors all out there on the run, male and female. Sally Pilbeam in PTS4 comes in third place. A multiple world championship medalist, gold and silver. One of the truly greats of the paratriathlon.
And I don't think we're too far away from seeing our winner in the PTS4 men.
Sally Pilbeam there, PTS4 competitor. Superb control on the bike, isn't it? Only one hand.
The vision-impaired women Italian.
And we can spot our next finishers will be the vision-impaired women. And this has been an outstanding solo performance to lead here from Anna Barbaro from Italy. Coming down to take out the ITU Devonport World Para-Triathlon Series.
I'll get behind them all the way from Italy. The gold medal today in the vision-impaired women. Anna Barbero from Italy takes the gold medal. Fantastic effort. Just very excited about that performance. And it's the Hong Kong athletes coming across in the vision-impaired males, just finishing as well.
So a great performance there by Anna Barbero, and we see the PTS 5 women in transition. Getting ready for our PTS 4 men. And it is the Russian competitor, Kolmakov, coming down to the line.
So
Mikhail Kolmakov takes out the PTS 4 men.
What a great run from him, Catherine. Who's looking for the silver medal?
And it's the Croatian, Franco.
Antonio Franco takes the silver.
And from Japan, Hideki Uda. PTS 4 men.
So Russia 1, Croatia 2 and Japan 3 in the PTS 4 men. What a great performance from those athletes, all vying to qualify for the Tokyo Paralympic Games.
And here comes Michael Taylor. He was the early leader from Great Britain. Obviously been some great running by those first 3 competitors to pass Michael. He'll finish in 4th place. We have our PTS 4 men finishing, one of the early leaders, and our American competitors finishing second in the PTVI, Amy Dixon.
What a great finish.
Vita Alexiev in 3rd place.
So silver medal to the USA and a bronze to the Ukrainian athletes in the vision-impaired women.
Clint Picken in the PTS 4. So we have our first 3 in the PTS 4 men now finished, and our first 3 in the PTVI women. Anna Barbero was the winner there. The American Amy Dixon 2nd, and from the Ukraine, Vita Alexiuk in 3rd place. And coming into transition now, leading the PTS2 athletes, Melissa Stockwell. Now I can see Yukako Hata is in there as well, and here comes Molly Wallace in the PTS 5, coming into transition. Yukako Hata in PTS 2 appears to be leading that event. So the Japanese competitor heads out onto the run in 1st place in PTS 2. Melissa Stockwell in that class is also in transition. Joe Kurt from Luxembourg finishing. We have our PTS 2 men still to finish. And our PTS 3. As more of the PTS 4 men are finishing there. Looking for Jules Ribstein, who is our leading, and that's Ribstein, takes out the PTS 2 from France, Jules Ribstein. Winner of the PTS 2 men. And coming into 4th place, Atsuko Mario in the PTVI women. from Japan, coming down towards the finish line. And from the USA, it's Eric Machiaveni in PTS4. So remember, our wheelchair athletes are on the bike course, and you can watch that exciting action. 6 laps on the bike. They're here on the turnaround. We have had our first female finish, which was the PTVI. We have all the other female classes still to finish. We've seen PTS2, Jules Ribstein, take that out. As Melissa Stockwell in PTS2 heads out onto her run leg. 2 laps, 5K in the run. Lots of action here at the Devonport ITU World Paratriathlon Series race. 12 medal events, all competitors out on the course. 70 athletes competing today from 26 different countries. The World Paratriathlon Series race is the highest level of competition outside of World Championships and Paralympic Games for the paratriathletes. Jussi Lutvonen from Finland finishing in PTS4. Even though the athletes might not be in the top 2 or 3 places on the podium, there are 10 slots available for athletes at the Tokyo Paralympic Games in each class. So every single place critically important for these competitors. Only 3 races count towards their final ranking points score. And the top 9 athletes will receive, their countries will receive a start position at the Tokyo Paralympic Games. 550 points to the winners in a WPS, and the point score drops by 7% for each race. Just keep the finish line nice and clear. And that's Vasily Egorov from Russia. If I've kept watch properly, he'll be finishing 2nd in the PTS2 class.
Okay, Catherine, I'm down here with our winners of the Vision-impaired women, all the way from Italy, Anna Barbaro and her guide, Charlotte Bonnet. Congratulations, ladies. First World Paratriathlon gold medal. How does it feel?
I am very happy. For it was a race. Non parlo molto bene l'inglese.
Okay, we are very happy for this race. Our first winning in VPS. Anna was a strong girl. She had a problem 10 days ago. She has some stitches on her knee, and she was very good in this race.
Fantastic effort now. So I guess the goal now is to try and qualify for the Tokyo Paralympic Games. How's the planning going with that?
Sono molto contenta di questa qualificazione, diciamo che mi viene strano dirlo, mi viene da piangere perché ancora non ci credo.
Okay, she is very happy, I'm very happy, I think all the Italian team is very happy, and so we see in Tokyo.
Congratulations, ladies. We look forward to seeing you at the Tokyo Paralympic Games. Well done.
Thank you, Craig. Fantastic performance by those women there. And just behind them, we saw Mikhail Astashov from Russia coming through into 3rd place in the PTS2 men. We won't be too far away from seeing some of our women finish. the PTS 5, the PTS 4 women, PTS 2 women all out there on the course. PTS 3 competitors as well, all on the run course. On the bike course, we have the vision-impaired athletes, and we can see Yukako Hata. No, it's Mami Tani, sorry, one of the Japanese competitors. She was in good position in PTS 4.
Okay, Catherine, I'm down at the finishing line now with the men's gold medal winner in the PTS 2, Jules Ribstein from France. Jules, really tough day today with the wind and everything. How did you find the race?
Yeah, I find the race very, very cool because I'm pretty good on the bike, on the position, so it's okay for me, the wind. But today I battled for the PTS category and it's very hard.
So you're trying to qualify up to make the Tokyo Games. How's that going for you?
Yeah, we try to. For the moment, I'm 60, I think, but I will do all my best for qualify.
So how are you enjoying your stay in Devonport in Tasmania?
I really love it because of the nature, and in my town I not all this nature so next to me, so it's very nice, and the sun it's good.
Well, congratulations on your gold medal today. Well done, and good luck with your journey to the Tokyo Paralympic Games.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful, congratulations. And we saw the first place getter Victor Chebotrev in PTS 3 finished, and here comes the winner in PTS 5 from Australia, Kate Doughty.
Gold medal to Australia. Well done, Kate. Great effort. She represented Australia at the Rio Paralympic Games. Had a break, had a baby, and she's back racing, and she's just won a gold medal in Devonport.
And a big win there to Kate Doughty. And here goes Chebarov winning the PTS 3. All the way from Russia. A great contingent of Russian competitors here. PTS 3, unfortunately not one of the 8 medal events for Tokyo, but able to class up in the PTS 4 and score points and hopefully qualify to compete in the Tokyo Paralympic Games. So we've had the first of our women in PTS 5 finished. We need some more place getters, and also a tough race out there in PTS 4. So out on the course, we have the PTS 4 women still to finish. We had Mami Tani, Elke van Engelen and Sally Pilbeam in a tight battle there. They won't be too far away, and looking for our place getters. Second and third place in the PTS 5 women, also still to finish. Our wheelchair competitors still on the bike course, but they will be flying out there, and we will see them heading into transition before too much longer. And for the people who are here live, you can hear the sound of the bikes as the hand bikes as they turn. And looking down that magnificent finishing chute. Wonderful setup here at Devonport in Tasmania, Australia. if you're watching from overseas. We've got 70 competitors from 26 countries around the world. Many of them have completed the triathlon, and it looks like we're crossing to Craig Redman with Kate Doughty, winner of the pTS5 Women.
Thanks, Catherine. I'm down here at the finishing line with our gold medalist, Kate Doughty. Tough day out there today with that wind. How did you feel?
Yeah, to be honest, I think that's one of the toughest courses I've ever raced on. It's always great to come to Devonport, but it's always a bit of an unknown of what the conditions are going to be. So it was quite testing out on the bike, really just holding it there. When you came back, and that tailwind was pretty nice, but it was definitely, it was hard. The run, like I just had to really just stay in the moment and get through it. I think it was probably one of my best runs to date, and that's what I came in for. So I'm just really happy where I'm at, and my name will be Ness from now on.
Oh, well, we love it, just Kate Doughty. You went to the Rio Paralympic Games and represented Australia. You got married, you had a baby, and now you're planning to go to Tokyo. Tell us how that's going.
Yeah, it's going great. I'm definitely super happy with my squad and my coach, and it's just it's beyond the triathlon team effort, it's a whole family effort. So we have its ups and downs, but it's an amazing journey. I'm super privileged to be where I'm at.
Well, congratulations, gold medal in Devonport, and good luck on the road to Tokyo.
Thanks, Red.
Well done, thank you, Craig. And Elisa Kolpachki has just finished second to Kate in the pTS5, the Ukrainian, in second place there, scoring valuable points on the road to Tokyo.
Yeah, great.
We're about 5 minutes away from our wheelchair competitors. That's Molly Wallace. Molly is one of the athletes certainly we will see in a few years' time getting ready for Paris. You have to be 16 years old to start racing in international para-triathlon. And Molly just turned 17. This is her first WPS, World Para-Triathlon Series race. And probably the youngest competitor. We can also see the Japanese competitor in pTS2, that's Yukako Hata from Japan. And those athletes heading out for the second of 2 laps in the run leg. And here comes our first wheelchair competitor into transition. They don't dismount as you do on a normal bike. The athletes must come to a complete stop. And I think we've lost them. Maybe a bit premature calling that. I heard the squeal of brakes. So all our wheelchair men and women. We have 8 competitors in the women and 7 in the men. And they're heading around. We're looking for 3rd place in the pTS5 women is yet to finish. And also the pTS4 women and the pTS2 women and the pTS3 women. Plenty of wheelchair athletes still on the final laps of their bike. We're looking for 3rd place in the pTS5 women, can't be too far away, and our first wheelchair athletes will be turning in. The men, when they left us, about 30 minutes ago, it was the Japanese Junpei Kimura who was leading from Nick Beveridge and Alexandra Pavica. I'm sure there has been plenty of moves out there on the bike course. And we saw Lauren Parker leading the women. Not far behind her was Christiane Reppe, Paralympic gold medalist in cycling and also a Paralympic medalist in swimming. And coming down to take out the pTS4, all the way from Germany, Elka van Engelen.
Great effort, gold medal to Germany. Magnificent race.
And this will be third place in the pTS5 women. From Hungary, Petra Levoy. So top three in pTS5 in. Kate Doughty, Elisa Kolpachki and Petra Levoy. And we have our winner in Elke van Engelen in pTS4. The pTS4 women, one of the classes who are classing up with the pTS5. So very important there for Van Engelen. She will score Paralympic qualification points. She will have finished technically in third place in the Paralympic qualification process.
I was having a bit of a chat to some of the athletes when they crossed the line, Catherine, and they were all commenting how tough the race is today with that wind, the choppy swim, and real strong wind. This makes for really tough racing for these amazing athletes.
Mamitani from Japan coming in second place in pTS4. And when you look at 10 places for the games, an outstanding performance for her to class up and finish fourth overall in Paralympic chase for points. So yeah, they're not wrong about the wind, Craig. It's blowing us around. I hate to think what it's like on a bike or swimming or running out there.
Yeah, so a silver medal for Japan. A great honour for those athletes so they can represent their country at a home games.
And this is Glenn Jarvis in pTS2 men. He won't be far off the podium. Jules Ribstein was the winner there. So Glenn Jarvis from Australia in the pTS2 men. He's finished fourth, we believe, unofficially fourth in the pTS2 men. And there we look at that vision there. There are all the race chairs ready to go. The athletes in the pTWC class will probably do, they could do almost about 12 minutes for the 5K. So they will be flying, and we look out to see Anna Bichkova in pTS5 from Russia finishing.
Great effort from the Russian athlete, preparing in a European winter and then coming all the way down to Australia to represent a country.
And here comes Sally Pilbeam, Craig. She is in third place in the pTS4, so another podium for this extraordinary competitor. Multiple podiums and gold medals at World Championship level, and a real pioneer of para-triathlon, not only in Australia but around the world. Sally Pilbeam.
Great effort, Sally. Bronze medal in Devonport. Charles from Perth in Western Australia. He's a physical education teacher over there. Juggles a family, full-time job, and elite para-triathlete.
So we have our podiums in pTS4 and pTS5. We have our pTS2 women out there, also a Paralympic class. And they'll be looking for big points on the road to Tokyo. And we hear the squeal as the wheelchairs those hand cycles. Heading around, all the race chairs waiting in transition, but no sign yet of our leading competitors in the men's and women's pTWC. So we're yet to see podiums. We're waiting for our winner in the PTS2 women and our podiums for both the wheelchair men and women. Hope you're enjoying this live streaming from Devonport, Tasmania, of the first WPS race of the season in 2020. A big year in paratriathlon, Paralympic Games year. And you can watch all the paratriathlon races, all 6 Paralympic Triathlon World Cups and all 4 WPS races this year, here on Triathlon Live.
All right, Catherine, we're getting some feedback from out on the course. In the wheelchair women, currently Lauren Parker is leading from the Dutch athlete in second, and then the German athlete rep is in third, followed by the Spanish athlete in fourth.
So Margaret Ejima, also a Paralympic competitor in swimming. So many athletes have begun their Paralympic Games careers in one sport and have transitioned into paratriathlon. And here comes our winner in PTS3. That's Anna Plotnikova from Russia.
Great effort from Anna, taking the gold medal in the PTS3 category, all the way from Russia.
And we're getting some feedback from the places out on the bike course. 1 lap to go. Competitor 122 is leading. That's Junpei Kimura, the Japanese. So he was first out in the first leg, the swim, and he's held that on the bike. Competitor 123 is Nick Beveridge from Australia, currently in second place. Those athletes due into transition any moment. And we'll see the wheelchair athletes transition from the hand cycles onto the racing wheelchairs. And we heard earlier Lauren Parker, Margaret Ejima and Christian Repe in the pTWC women's race, not far from the end of their cycle leg. And we've just got an update from out on the bike course. Competitor 101, that is the reigning world champion, Lauren Parker, is leading the women in pTWC. In second place, 104, Margaret Ejima, the Dutch competitor. She was the winner in Alanya at the Paratri World Cup, and she's currently in second place on the last lap of the bike for the women. Christiana Repe in third, so we're looking for a tight finish there. Eva Moral Pedrero in fourth, and Jessica Pereira, the Brazilian, in fifth. So tight racing. And Emily Tapp also up there, dual world champion. So we're looking to a very exciting finish in the women's race. There'll be plenty of action in transition shortly as the wheelchair competitors transition from the recumbent hand cycle. Effectively, they're lying flat on their backs, and they will go up and over with the help of their handlers into the racing wheelchairs. And looking out on the course, here comes Molly Wallace, making her WPS debut, and behind her will be the winner, Yukako Hata of the PTS2. So Molly Wallace finishing in PTS 5, and behind her the leader and winner of PTS 2, Yukako Hata from Japan. And what a moment for Yukako Hata. PTS 2 women, one of the Paralympic events in Tokyo. So I know it's been a long journey for Yukako Hata. She'll be looking to represent her country with pride at the home Paralympic Games. The wind's still very strong out here, making for difficult conditions on the bike, I would imagine. Craig, do you think the hand cycles would have more or less impact from the wind?
Oh, I think they're lower to the ground, but they're certainly going to feel it. This wind is very strong. There's certain sections on the bike course, Catherine, where there's little gaps in the bush, in the coastal scrub, and so they'll be buffeted by the winds through there as well. It's certainly a very tough race for them today. It'll really test them in the conditions, and we're hearing that they're now onto their last lap. The leading men in the wheelchair division are on their last lap of the bike. And we'll see their quick transitions, Catherine, and then we expect them to do the run in around 12 minutes, the 5-kilometre run in their racing wheelchairs.
Yeah, the wind will certainly make it very difficult out there. They'll probably get well over 40 kilometres an hour with the wind behind them, but pushing back into that wind will be very strong. And here comes our first competitor, Junpei Kimura from Japan, into transition.
So you notice there, Catherine, you had to do a complete stop at the dismount line. You had to do a complete stop, and then they had to get their momentum going again. So, and here comes our second competitor braking hard, and it's the Austrian competitor.
That's Florian Brungraber. Competitor 124, Florian Brungraber from Austria in second place. And he's made a big move forward in the run, in the bike.
So Japan 1, Austria 2, and Nick Beveridge has just come to the dismount line, so he's in third. So Japan 1, Austria 2, Australia 3.
As those athletes make their way down into transition, you can see the handlers in the yellow vests, and Junpei Kimura is away in the racing wheelchair.
And our French athlete is
Alexandre Pavitza. As Junpei Kimura heads out on the run.
What a great transition there. That was very quick. He's out onto the run course now.
Florian Brungraber from Austria in second place in the pTWC men.
So they will be absolutely rocketing down to that far end with the wind behind them, Catherine. It's going to be hard work coming back, but certainly going to use that wind as they head down to the far turnaround.
And here comes Melissa Stockwell from the USA in the PTS 2. She will finish second.
Silver medal of the USA. Well done, Melissa.
The wheelchair racers are putting on their gloves. You can see that hesitation. They use a hard glove to hit the pushroom. And Nick Beveridge underway as well, tightening that strap on the back. Alexandre Pavitza, allez Alexandre!
So very quick transition from him as well. So he's out third out onto the run course.
Nick Beveridge just behind him in fourth. A very handy wheelchair racer, Nick is. So it'll be exciting to see how much he can catch up on the course.
So Japan 1, Austria 2, France 3, Australia 4 in the men's wheelchair category.
And you can see beautiful footage there of Nick Beveridge, lovely technique. He's coached by ITU Hall of Famer Louise Savage, one of the greatest female wheelchair racers of all time. She also coaches world champion Maddie De Rosario, Nick a training partner of her. And showing a beautiful technique. They punch the push rim. They're not hanging on to the push rim on the race chair. They're literally punching it, and they're wearing very hard gloves. So they can hit those push rims as hard as they can.
So we're getting word down the course. Lauren Parker is leading the women's race. She has a 3-minute 10 lead. 3-minute 10 lead over the Dutch athlete, followed by Christian Grappi from Germany. And here's our next competitor coming in from Italy.
So the Italian pTWC competitor Pier Alberto Buccolieri, currently in 4th place. Fifth, sorry, Craig. I'm getting too excited.
Yeah, so we've got 5 male athletes now off the bike course and heading out onto the run. And we're looking for our leading females as well.
And you see Pier Alberto coming in there. He is an H2 competitor. Remember, we were talking about the wheelchair athletes. There's H1s and H2s. The H2s are less impaired than the H1s, and he's able to complete the transition without the help of a handler. So he will have more function in the lower part of his body. And that's why they started behind the H1s in the swim way back almost an hour ago. Pier Alberto Buccolieri from Italy, heading out onto the run. Won't be long before we see those top athletes heading back in the men's pTWC. See if there's been a change. Jumpy Camara was leading them, the Japanese. Florian Brungraber, the Austrian, was in 2nd. Nick Beveridge, the Australian, in 3rd. And Alexandra Pravitsa also out there.
Yeah, so we have 5 athletes out on the run course, and here's our 6th athlete coming in now. Actually, it's our leading woman from Australia. Lauren Parker has finished the bike. She's heading into T2. Great ride. Well done, Lauren. So let's get the clock on that and see what her gap is. So our current women's world champion is leading the women's wheelchair category. She lives in Newcastle, New South Wales.
And we talked about how Nick trains with one of the great wheelchair racers. Lauren also does as well. Kurt Fernley, multiple Paralympic gold medalist, is a training partner of Lauren Parker. Into the race chair. Fix the feet, fix the backstrap, put on the gloves, and away you go.
That's well rehearsed. She's got a great handler there, the legend Dave Robbo. And here she goes, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. She's your current world champion, trying to qualify for the Tokyo Paralympic Games. Lauren Parker.
The athlete's racing with the disc wheels in the track chairs. So if there's a bit of a side wind, would the wind be coming across, Craig, or is it coming sort of straight head on behind them?
No, they're pretty much directly behind them and in front of them. A little bit of a side wind on the way back when they go around a couple of corners, but generally they've got a tailwind down and a headwind back. So you're going to see, I think if we can look way down the far end of the course, we might be able to see our leading athlete coming back actually in the men's.
And that's Florian Brungraber, if I'm not mistaken, the red of Austria. He's clearly moved past Junpei Kimura and is now leading the pTWC class. He will be coming up to turn around. Florian Brungraber from Austria.
Oh wow, he's pushing so well, he's flying into this wind. So Flungro from Austria, he's about to turn. Get a little bit of a reprieve now from that headwind. Takes his time, has a look. 2.5k to go. So he's opened up a very handy lead there.
Junpei Kimura was in second, so we look for him. Yep, that's Junpei Kimura in the black there of Japan, coming up to turn around.
So we've got Austria 1, Japan 2.
And it's such a great example, isn't it, Craig? It's swim, bike and run, not just swim, bike. Kimura, the leader, well in the swim and held on to the lead in the bike, but already the run, a big change in placings.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think it might be the Australian Nick Beveridge in third place, working really hard into that wind, followed by the French athlete.
Alexandra Provenza, yep, that's the green of Australia. Speed hump. In second place, Margaret Ejima from the Netherlands into transition in the women's pTWC. And right on her tail, Christian Repper, the German. As Nick Beveridge for Australia turns in third place in the pTWC men, we also have the top three women, either in transition or out on the run.
And it's the French.
Yeah, Eva Maria Moral from Spain, fourth. So 4 women in, and out on the course we can see our male competitors on their last lap.
Yeah, so in our women we've got Australia, the Netherlands, Germany, and then Spain. The first 4 athletes off the bike.
Our male competitors into transition all the way from Russia, a big contingent from Russia, and they've taken quite a few podiums. And Emily Tapp, dual world champion, heads into transition. In second place at the moment in the women's race behind Lauren Parker is this competitor, Margaret Ejima from the Netherlands, heading out on the run. In third place, also heading out on the run, Christian Repper. Eva Moral Podrero is in transition, as is Emily Tapp. So tight racing for the women. Lauren Parker, Margaret Ejima, Christian Repper.
And our Irish athlete, Mark Miller, is just coming off the bike.
And we see the second place getter in the women, Margaret Ejima, and not far behind her, Christian Rep. You see how Christian is falling towards the inside. The camber of the road can pull those racing chairs. They usually set up the front of the steering to pull away from those bends. Emily Tapp heading out in the green and gold in the women. A very fine wheelchair racing athlete, and she certainly can catch the athletes ahead of her. Tricky turning these chairs. Pier Alberto Buccolerio from Italy. Turning there. Semen Radiev from Russia as well.
And Mona Francis from France is just coming off the bike in the women's category of the wheelchair.
We won't be far away from a finish in the pTWC men. Jessica Ferreira from Brazil into transition. And Rita Kukuru from Italy, also in the women's pTWC in transition. So we have the majority of the men and women either in transition or out on the run. We have no ambulant athletes still to finish.
So Mark Miller from Ireland now out onto the run course.
So we'll be looking for that red vest. Florian Brungraber, the Austrian. He was leading after one lap on the run. Junpei Kimura was in black. And one athlete out there in the red is the third place getter, still in the PTS2 women. Raquel Mateo Uriarte from Spain is also still to finish. And there's the red of Florian Brungraber, I think we've caught in the vision. He was the leading pTWC man. And he will probably turn into the finishing straight.
Yeah,
Here he comes.
If we look down the finishing straight, Catherine, he's had a really dominant performance on that bike and the run. He comes all the way from Austria, and he's going to take out the gold medal in the 2020 Devonport World Para-Triathlon Series. Welcome home, Florian Brungraber. Gold medal. Well done, Florian. Great effort.
And coming through now to take the bronze medal in the PTS2 women. Raquel Mateo Uriarte from Spain.
And a great effort there from Florian.
Great camaraderie there from the three podium competitors in PTS2. Yukako Hata, Melissa Stockwell, and Raquel Mateo Uriarte. And we will probably see those competitors in Tokyo in the Paralympic Games. So here comes possibly our second competitor in black. On the run there, Junpei Kimura led the pTWC men for much of the competition, passed only on the run, and there's the green of Nick Beveridge. And this will be our silver medalist, pTWC men coming to the line. Florian Brungraber was the winner from Austria, and in the black, Junpei Kimura from Japan.
Oh, what a great effort from the Japanese athlete, silver medal.
And Nick Beveridge from Australia.
Well done, Nick. Great effort, bronze medal. So Austria takes the gold, Japan the silver, and Australia the bronze medal in the men's wheelchair category.
So just the women's podium to come, as we see Alexandre Pavitsa fourth in the men's pTWC coming down to the finish line. And the Pink Ninja. Top four men in. pTWC, a Tokyo event for both men and women. So we look forward to seeing many of these competitors competing again in the Paralympic Games. Coming up next for the athletes, the next WPS race is in Milan, and then Yokohama in May in Japan. And the fourth WPS race in the qualifying is Montreal. A number of World Cups in between. Just the top three races score. And these WPS races are the second highest points that athletes can score. WPS are worth 550 points. Continental Championships 500 points. And World Championships in Lausanne were worth 700 points. Points dropped by 7.5% for each race. And over to Craig Redman with the winner of the pTWC, Florian Brungraber.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm here at the finishing line. The gold medal at the 2020 Devonport World Para-Tri Series. Florian, great race today. You've come a long way, all the way down to Australia to win the gold medal. How was your race?
Yeah, at first it was a long race to Australia, along with Australia, but the race, the first part was wavy, and the both last parts, bicycle and running, was quite windy. So on the bicycle it was hard to push all against the wind. And on the run first, it was clear for me that I can reach the first position, and then I bring it to the finish line.
You were clearly emotional when you crossed the line. You were really happy to win that gold medal. So what does this mean to you in your journey to Tokyo?
It means a lot because that is my third race in a row that what I finished at first. So this is also my first double VPS race that what I start and what I finished at first. And yeah, of course, this means a lot of points more at the qualifying list for Tokyo. So it's a big step closer to Tokyo.
Well, congratulations today. Thanks for coming down to Australia, and good luck on your road to Tokyo 2020.
Thank you.
Craig, while you were interviewing our winner there, Florian, Pier Alberto Bucoliero has finished in fifth place, in the pTWC men, the Italian in fifth. We're still waiting to see our women who are out on their final leg of the run. I saw a number of them turn and head out. Lauren Parker leading. We had Eva Maria Morale out there, Margaret Ejima, Christiane Repe and Emily Tapp. So we keep our eyes peeled and see our female wheelchair athletes, the last event to be decided at this magnificent Devonport World Para-Triathlon Series race. First race for 2020. And I think we have our leading female in sight. Her handler certainly getting very excited there. Lauren Parker, the reigning world champion. She has dominated this field today. Craig, can you spot Lauren?
And attention, bringing it to the finishing line. She's the current world champion, and she's about to win the gold medal at the 2020 Devonport World Para-Triathlon Series. Bring her home, Lauren Parker of Australia, gold medal. Great effort, Lauren. She said she wanted a rough swim. She certainly got that today.
Incredible journey for these athletes. We've mentioned a number of competitors who only began para-triathlon last year. Lauren is one of those. And a key part of the journey for the athletes, both in competition and out, are the handlers. And Dave Robertson there, the handler for Lauren Parker, coached by Triathlon Australia high performance coach Dan Atkins. And she has a wonderful support team wrapped around her. Looking out on the course, still trying to catch second and third places. It's very tight between Christiane Reper and Margaret Ejima and Emily Tapp. Be very interesting to see who comes in next. Craig, can we have a word with Lauren?
Thanks, Catherine. I'm down here at the finishing line with the gold medal, the 2020 Devonport World Para-Triathlon Series. Lauren, really tough conditions out there. You did say to me yesterday you wanted a tough swim. How was it?
Yeah, it was definitely a tough swim. It was rough out there, but that's what I like, and I got a good lead off the swim and onto the bike and increased that lead, which was the plan, and held it off for the run.
Did an amazing job. So what was it like with that wind? What were your tactics using that really strong wind?
It was definitely tough into the headwind, but I really made sure I worked with the wind when it was behind me, and made sure my cadence was up into the headwind. So yeah, it really worked for me today.
Well, fantastic effort, gold medal. I guess everything now turns towards Tokyo for you. How's the plans going along for that?
Yeah, definitely. The plans are going really well at the moment. I'm all on track, and the goal is to get that gold medal at Tokyo Paralympics, and yeah, I'm on track to do that.
Guys, we'll be watching you from home. Great effort. Well done, Lauren.
All right, we turn our eyes back out on the course. Hopefully we can pick up the colours of the athletes. The German will be in a mainly black top. Emily Tapp in the green of Australia. Margaret Ajima. Look at that. 2 competitors incredibly close there. That's the red, Eva Moral Pedrero, the Spanish competitor. Looks like currently in second. So Eva Maria Moral will be in red, Christian Rep in black.
Oh, this is going to be very close. Get ready, judges. This is a sprint for the finish.
And if the people can just move away from the finish line, we can pick who it is. Emily Tapp, it looks like in third place. Arno Radiev is the Australian. So Emily Tapp has finished in second place. 1-2 in Australia for the women's.
Wow, what an amazing run leg from Emily Tapp. I think she went out of the course in about 5th or 6th. So that was an amazing run from her. So Australia 1-2 in the wheelchair women.
And that was Semen Radiev who tricked us, one of the men well back in the field. As you can see, the athletes are sitting very deep in the racing wheelchairs, and it can be hard head on to pick who it is, but a wonderful performance there, 2 world champions. So, but those 2 women have won the last 3 world championship races in pTWC. So tremendous competitors there. And we look forward to seeing them race in Tokyo later this year.
Wow, that was an amazing race from Emily to get into silver. We're still looking for a bronze medal, Catherine. We don't know who's in third place.
Yeah, well, red will be Eva Maria Pedrero, but we must not be tricked by some of the other men out there. We also have Christian Reper, who is in a very dark top, and Margaret Ajima. We're stretching our eyes as much as we can. And if you're watching with us on the live stream, fantastic job by the cameraman on this triathlon live stream. It's an orange chair and a black top. I think it's Christian Reper from Germany.
So if we look down the finishing straight, it's our bronze medal winner. We're just trying to pick that athlete up.
We'll just get a call if that's Margaret Ajima or Christian Reper. $104, I think it is. Yep, 104 has finished in third place. That's Margaret Ajima, the Dutch competitor, in third place. Repa from Germany finishing. What a great race. So close between the women. As one of the men, Mark.
I was plenty happy to see from the Dutch athlete to pick up the bronze medal.
And is that our Spanish woman, Eva Moral Pedrero, as well. Terrific from the women. They are amongst the top ranked women in the world. As we said, the last 3 world championships have been won by Lauren and Emily. Eva Maria is ranked 4th in the world. So certainly we'll see these women racing again in the Paralympic Games. So we have all our medalists in. Medal ceremonies coming up not too far away, down beside the sea, for those of you who are here watching the competition with us. We encourage all the spectators here enjoying the para-triathlon race to make your way down to the seaside where the big banner is, the big ITU banner, and we will be recognising the terrific performances in all the medal classes here today. But great racing here in Devonport. Beautiful sun, strong wind, technical course, outstanding performances from the best para-triathletes in the world. Remember, you can continue to watch the live stream in full of all para-triathlon races this year. 6 para-triathlon World Cups and 3 more World Para-Triathlon Series races to come. And if you're a young person who'd like to get involved in para-triathlon and you're watching the live stream, make sure you contact your National Triathlon Federation and find out how you too can potentially be on the road to Paris or Los Angeles. Tremendous camaraderie from the athletes, as you can see. When they're racing, it's all about the winning. When you're finished, you share the stories. We see our men and women finishing there. The blue of Italy could be Rita Kukuru. And Craig Redman is having a chat there to Margaret Ijima, who was 3rd.
Thanks, Catherine. I'm down here at the finishing line with our bronze medalist today, Margaret Ijima from the Netherlands. She's very happy with that. You're very animated when you crossed the line. Congratulations. So how was your race?
Struggling in the swim, but I make it good with the bike and on course.
So you found the wind pretty tough. So what sort of tactics were you using to try and counteract the really strong wind?
The strong wind with the swim, I cannot see the buoy. I was thinking I'm missing him, but it's quite good. Yes.
So is there anything you want to say to all the Dutch fans back home in Europe?
I'm finishing 3rd. I'm really glad about it.
All right, congratulations on your bronze medal today in Devonport, and well done.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our events today, 2020 Devonport World Para-Triathlon Series. Congratulations to all the athletes that competed today in very tough conditions. Big thank you to the race organisers, to Michael Bonney and his team, to Devonport Council and to the Tasmanian Government for supporting this event, Triathlon Australia and the ITU. We're signing off now, and good luck to all the athletes competing this weekend in Abu Dhabi.